So it's our post-lunch session, and the one topic that will not allow you to go into that post-food slumber, terrorism through other prisms. That's the heavy topic that we have. What kind of a mind does a terrorist have? Is this person a loser or a psycho? Is there a spiritual explanation in the gunas and the chakras to unravel the social psychology of violence? Are there offbeat ways to cure a global disease? To unravel all of these and the individual and social psychology of violence, we have with us Brahmachari Jamal, a spiritual teacher at the Ananda Sangha. Brahmachari Jamal is an engineer by qualification who teaches spiritualism at the Ananda Sangha, which is a pastoral retreat center and budding residential community that represents a spiritual movement and a blessed way of life that is both ancient and ever new. He has played a role also in a movie called Finding Happiness.
Wow.
Okay?
Interesting.
I'm willing to wait to understand what that means. We have with him Professor Anil Savarkar, who is the head of the psychology department at Ferguson College. And to unravel all these great mysteries, we have Shreya Narayan, who's an actress, a writer, and a model. She's earlier worked in television and is associated with social services. She's won critical acclaim for her portrayal of Mahua in the Tigmanshu Dhulier's movie, Sahib Biwi or Gangster. And she's also known for her philanthropy and social work. So Shreya, take it away with terrorism in other, or through other prisms.
So, first of all, we all know that terrorism is mostly dealt in the political space. Now, we are all Mumbaikars. For me, a terrorist was always somebody, far off, somewhere, our armies keep on fighting in Kashmir. सरहद पे लड़ते रहते हैं और terrorists मारते रहते हैं और terrorists आते रहते हैं. So a picture was of these mercenaries who are paid and, they work for money and they try to kill people till. And we had earlier instances of terrorism in Mumbai. There was a train blast, there were Mumbai bomb blasts. But, sometimes it was just a pressure cooker or a suitcase which was kept there. Sometimes it was just, somebody who had planted a bomb somewhere and had disappeared. We didn't have a face to a terrorist till that day when Taj was attacked. And then they were roaming about on our roads. And I mean, this happened in Townside, and I live in Andheri. And I remember that we didn't want to go out into our roads in Andheri because we were scared that what if somebody lands there and shoots us. And that was when the terrorist got a face. And everybody wanted to know that what is driving this person? Who is this person who has come into another country and is roaming about with his guns and is ready to kill anybody at a drop of a hat? First of all, let's start with that since we have Dr. Savarkar. What is the psychology of this person? Mostly we talk about terrorists as, these are people who have just been paid and they're coming from difficult circumstances or some things like that. But there has to be a psychology there because that has been proven wrong. A lot of people who are very, very well educated or from great places, they are also there. So please paint us a picture of a psychologist, of a terrorist in terms of psychology.
Yeah, Shreya, I would like to answer this particular question that you have asked from a particular perspective.
Yeah.
Think about a terrorist like a profession. And in that particular profession, you have a CEO, you have different managers, team leaders, and the common person.
Yeah.
So when I talk about terrorists, I look at the CEO, the first person, and the common person who is doing this particular act. Now, there are two different psychology that goes on. And see, it's a profession, for any particular profession, people join from different perspective. But when they join from different perspective, the act is common. And that act is violence, which all terrorists will be doing. Now let me answer this to a particular research that has been done in social psychology. If you realize that after World War, Hitler was the main person in Germany, and this concentration camp, who were the people who were creatively killing these mean people? Was this Hitler? No. They were common people who they did not see his face physically. But they were so creatively involved in killing these people. How was it possible? And they have did it. So there was a social psychologist by name Milgram, and wanted to see in regular life, does this happen? So he did a small experiment in a laboratory. He gave a machine, a small machine, which has the voltage of 10 degree, goes to 450 and 65. And if you know that if you give an electric current of 450, person can die. Now there was another person, a small experiment where the person was that side, there was a glass, and this side, the main teachers, mostly the teachers and the people who the experiment was done on. So that was the person was shown, if you touch this, okay, you are going to get shock. Now what you need to do as this, you need to ask this person who is across this glass a question. And the person not able to answer, you need to give the shock. And you carry on giving the shock. And the person was made aware, okay, touch this and there's a shock. Now what happened in this experiment, started with 10, asked the question, person was not able to answer, started giving the shock. 20, 30, 50, okay? Now, that side person with this 100, 150, you know, when you're getting the shock, what you're doing, and the person was telling, hey, leave me. That person was in that particular box, and Milgram was standing there. And this particular experimenter, hey, listen, I'm doing this because you told me to do the experiment, but the person is getting the shock. I don't want to do the experiment. Milgram was saying, hey, listen, it is needed. It is needed for a particular purpose. And they went to the extent of giving the shock of 450. Now, this experiment is not done on one person, almost many people, and 65% of the people who went on giving the shock of 450 degree. But
so you
in
mean
reality,
to say that any of us can become a terrorist?
Absolutely, that was the whole thing. In reality, there was no shock there. And the other person who was only acting, and that person was Milgrams. And 65%, but there was few people who even during that act took the chair and thrown on Milgram. I don't want to continue.
Yeah.
But there were other people who went to the extent of giving that 450 and 60 volt shock.
Yeah, right.
It means, that's what Freud said.
Yes.
Human beings are inherently violent, which I totally disagree. Human beings are inherently violent, which I say human beings are capable of getting to that anger and aggression, but they are not violent. Okay. But this is what people are. And this terrorist, so to say CEO, knows the psychology.
Yeah.
And they are practicing psychology. So they're using all different means
and
to
they're doing
make
it since
use
childhood.
Of this.
A lot of time
Absolutely.
since childhood. So you are in that mind
Absolutely.
that this is okay.
Yes. And the
I'm working for a purpose.
Correct.
So what we see is mostly, a terrorist is anybody who uses violence as a means. And in schools in America, we often know that nowadays, students just go to the school and kill so many of their fellow students and teachers and then just, kill themselves. Anyways, we have been facing terror here in India and Middle East and whatever. So what we have come to know is either the person feels hopelessness, complete hopelessness, or the person is highly motivated. So I want to know the spiritual side of things, the yogic, according to the yogic chakras and energies. What is this person feeling? What are these two extreme states of feeling highly motivated and hopelessness? These two have to come together to create somebody who does not care about killing, hundreds and thousands of people, or for that matter, just one person next to him. What is he feeling?
So let's start with the hopeless case, that in this world, everyone is manifesting different states of consciousness, different states of awareness. And what we're talking about today is people who have a lower state of consciousness and feel a definite separation between themselves and the rest of the world, and that they are willing to do anything because their mind is dark. They don't see that what they do to another person is going to hurt that person. And so they're willing to do anything. And now, when we get to the state of someone feeling hopelessness, that just absolutely nothing's working, let's take these cases in America with children literally taking guns and shooting people, that the school itself, that the environment, whatever the environment is, it might be school, might be home, is making this person feel that there's just nobody's listening to me, nobody cares about me, this is my last recourse. And we'll get into this later in the talk, but this certainly has to do with consciousness, it has to do with energy, it has to do with energy within our own spines. Now we'll get to the other person that you talked about, unless you have a question. Because every single human being is looking for joy. There's just no way around that. But sometimes when we feel so frustrated, so hopeless, that we decide that we'll do these things that in a normal state of mind look really wrong. But since everyone is looking for joy, that there's different ways that we can raise our level of consciousness. Hopefully we'll go into those later as solutions. But now let's get to this other person who is kind of coordinating these things, is bringing many people together. Why is he doing that? And I hope that we can answer this rhetorical question at the moment so I can keep speaking, but as a group we can talk about this today and answer it. And that is, does the end justify the means? Is it okay to do some bad things? And probably, if you are a high-energy person in this world, I've heard some instances from speakers here already today, that you've had to do some things that you're thinking, is this quite right? I don't know, but I know I need to get this done for my son or for my husband or to climb higher in the workplace or whatever.
So in this topic, I would really like to invite the audiences to join in, because what is that collective mindset of terror? How is it that societies start supporting terror? A lot of societies where terrorism is so prevalent, the terror cannot go on till they have support from.
I mean, I feel that we can take a collective consciousness, but where do you draw that circle around? If we draw it around the planet, then we see that there's all of these different countries, but we live in a country and we start to take on identifications. We say, I'm American, I'm Indian, I'm this. And as soon as we do that, we put a separation between ourselves. And then political leaders, they love that separation because it gets them reelected. And so they keep saying, let's have more separation. These guys over here, they're no good. And you see that separation just keeps going and going. But what we need to understand now is that we're living in a very dangerous age, in an age where there's weapons where people can we all can go up in smoke if we continue as a collective consciousness to keep going in this direction of saying, I'm separate from you, I'm different from you, I do this, I do that, you do this. That we need to start looking for spiritual solutions on how we can begin to feel that we are all one, and how we can begin to feel not only that we are all one, but that in diversity that we can find that unity.
So, in terms of gunas, for example, in yogic traditions, you talk about gunas like rajasic, tamasic, sattvic. Just as everybody is very diet conscious, so nowadays everybody knows what are these gunas, because people want to have sattvic food. So that is also one of the traits that, like a terrorist, what kind of gunas he has, or which energy is really working, the various energies in the body, 7 chakras in the body. And that leads to certain kind of energies which are more strong than others.
Let's talk about this.
So in a terrorist, probably you can tell us that what kind of energies are working.
Let's first just make sure everyone in the audience understands the 3 gunas. That Rajo guna would be something that's activating. And the key to this is that it can be activating in any direction. We'll get back to that. Tamo guna is that which is very stationary, that which doesn't move, inert, dull-mindedness, sloth, drinking lots of alcohol. This type of thing is tamasic. Wanting to sleep long, long hours and not get up and do anything. Rajas says, I want to get up, I want to move, I want to help the world. Maybe. It might say, I want to help myself. There's a difference in those two. But then Sattva guna sees the oneness, sees the unity of all mankind. So now, a terrorist may be a very tamasic person and maybe just get up enough mental power to figure out how to make some little bomb or get a gun and do terror. But he also, and this is the real dangerous terrorists, might be a Rajasic temperament or type of person who does have mind power, but he's not using it to go towards sattva. He's using that rajas to go for his own ego and think, I don't care what happens to other people. I'm just going to take for me and mine. And he doesn't understand that we are actually all connected, that there is unity, and that what he does affects everybody else actually on the planet.
Shreya, I would like to.
Yeah, in fact, I wanted to ask you one thing. That, do you think, because you are a professor of psychology, do you think all this talk is like really esoteric?
No, absolutely.
Because everybody, spiritual things and gunas and chakras and energies. I mean, when we talk to people, they're like, oh my God, I mean, these spiritual people, they just want to con you or something. So what is your take on this?
No, what I would like to answer again differently, because I don't want to say this is correct, this is wrong. I would speak from psychological perspective. Those people who have been terrorists, there are many researches that have been done. And it is, first of all, very, very difficult in psychology to do research with these people. Because once they are caught, also there are so many legal issues, and it's becomes very difficult to find out what are the main reasons. But in clinical psychology, we have certain personality disorders, so to say. For example, we have borderline personality disorder. We have antisocial personality disorder. We have paranoid personality disorder. And all those people who have done these researches, they have found with limited research, this is common with these terrorists. For example, a suicide bomber, for example, they have found this particular personality of borderline personality where they are very, very low on self-esteem. There's a problem with self-esteem issue. Okay? Another issue that they have found out is there is some kind of emptiness with these people. And these CEOs, which again I talk about, they hold on to this one. Hey, listen, you are this, but you are meant for a greater job.
Yeah.
And that greater job will give you martyrdom, and you will have eternal life. And this has been totally brainwashed over the years.
Yeah.
And when I know this, I have got so many issues of mine. I have got these problems. And these terrorist CEOs are very, very intelligent people, so to say. They pick on these weaknesses, and they groom these people, brainwash so much that this person's psychology here, when he's going to do that act, I am having this fear. I am going to kill someone, at the same time, I am going to kill myself. But right now, this here brain, which is, should produce the chemicals of guilt, remorse, is not there.
Yeah.
And the person just does that act in that emotional arousal.
So basically, that's the psychology of a suicide bomber.
Absolutely.
Basically, they are not able to have any kind of guilt at that moment.
Absolutely.
And do you think that low self-esteem and violence, this has a huge correlation, like even in real life when you see individuals, if you have low self-esteem, you can be made to do anything, and you also feel so much of, you feel enraged, yet you do not have the power to come out of your situation and do something about it because you have low self-esteem. So that leads to, feelings of suppression and then ultimately violence.
True. So see, this low self-esteem itself is not the cause, because when they join this particular movement, they are not terrorists.
Yeah.
They are having these personality issues.
Yeah.
They are having negative experiences in their life. Yeah. Now, when you have this particular package, I would like to make use of this package because I know this particular person who is having a low self-esteem is capable of doing that particular act, which is very, very extreme.
Yeah.
And I would like to brainwash this person through different mechanisms that I have. And I make use of this. Now, I wanted to give an explanation to this particular person, but what happens to the CEO?
Yeah.
Now, they also have found out a different personality, which is called narcissistic personality disorder, where an antisocial personality disorder. Now, narcissistic personality disorder is a person usually who requires a lot of attention, who requires admiration, who requires power. And automatically people should be giving me that.
So while Hitler fits into this, does Bin Laden fit into this?
There's a possibility, high possibility why this must have happened, and that's why these people go through this particular background. And I'm telling you, there are many research where they call it, the terrorists usually are psychopath.
Yeah.
Not necessary.
Not necessary.
They are very, very intelligent because psychopath will not carry the act just like that. And these days, if you see, the whole type of terrorist acts which were before 1980, 1990, and after 1990, these are the people who are recruiting very, very intelligent people. Who are very, very intelligent.
They all are engineers.
Absolutely.
Or highly, educated people.
Correct.
And so they are the highly motivated kinds who want to work for a cause.
Yes.
But now, since we have time crunch, I just want to come to the solutions. See, we know that this is the terrorist and there is this collective mindset, in supporting terrorism. But so, since you are from psychology, can drugs transform people? And if they can, are governments using it already to transform the minds of terrorists?
Now, I have my own reservation because I come from clinical psychology. I don't know whether there's a psychiatrist here who actually practices drugs. So there is a blend of different theories in psychology.
Yeah, so say psychology, just talking to somebody and changing his
see, for
mindset.
example, there are drugs for antidepressant, anti-anxiety, anti-anger, but now these drugs are for chemicals that
But
are
there's
there
no drug for low
in balance.
self-esteem.
Yeah, now because low self-esteem is here.
Yeah.
It's a thought.
Yeah.
Is the brain here. And there is this is the thinking
Yeah.
which has to be changed.
Yeah.
And see, one becomes a terrorist just not 1 year, 2 years like that. Years of indoctrinated, the whole brainwashing that has happened.
Yeah. So
is gone.
we had few students here from Mumbai who were engineers and they went on to join the Syrian war and everything. So, they're getting everything. They're getting great education. They are in Mumbai. They have everything, at their disposal. And yet they find ways to, indoctrinate themselves probably and go.
See, for this, I would like to have many reasons when I say self-esteem is the issue, emptiness is the issue, religion is a strong issue. Religion is a strong issue, and
in that space, I want to come to you.
Okay.
Okay.
So if there are solutions to this in the spiritual or religious context, so how will you, can you give us some examples from mythology or history where a very violent person was converted into a better person or whatever, peaceful person through some spiritual practices or religious practices?
Absolutely, I can give an example, and I will. I see that spiritual solutions are the only solution to this, and I don't have to put it in terms of join this guru or sign up with this church. I put it in one word: love. If you can feel love, if you can feel that you love your neighbor, I see that as a solution. I'll let you figure that out. But now, let's talk about someone.
But how do you
who
love your
did-
neighbor when there's so much of distrust already? Somebody's just killed somebody very close to me. So that love, it's for very evolved people. I say it myself because I always thought, they say that, love is the only solution, love is the only solution. Till I actually started doing my chakra meditation and evolved to a certain level, I couldn't understand its meaning. I used to think, what a bag full of just talk, So what is that way that we can make normal people who are not into spirituality even come to it, even come to that place of love?
We're all here. This world really is just a school, and that we all are learning that lesson. But obviously, we want to educate everyone so that people can know that the solution is love, but you can't force education on people. In fact, that's the topic today, is terrorists trying to force people to listen to, this is my spiritual solution, and if you don't go my spiritual way, then I'll kill you, and then my guru or whoever, spiritual leader, is going to be so happy with me, and that's the absolute wrong way of thinking. It just simply doesn't work. But I do want to tell a story that perhaps people know. It's just really quick. I'm not going to take too long, but it's of Valmiki, and that he was a robber, a dacoit, that he would kill people on the side of the road, and that some people, or let's just say a group came, and it was a saint, and he said, well, go ahead, kill me if you want. It's just my body. What does it matter? And Valmiki said, well, you're a strange one. Normally people don't talk like this. What's going on here? And then they started talking, and the saints told Valmiki, why do you do this? And Valmiki said, well, to support my family. I have a wife, I have children. I'm not good at anything else. And the saint said, I'll stay here, and if I'm wrong, you can come back and kill me. But go ask your wife, go ask your children if they're going to take on this bad karma that you're getting, that they're willing to share this karma for you. And he went home, and his children and wife said, it's your job to provide money for the family. I'm not sharing this bad karma. That's for you. And Valmiki then had a change. And then he went back to that saint, And then that saint gave him a mantra, and this is very interesting to me because I was born in the West. And the mantra was Rama, Rama. But Valmiki couldn't say that. He was so evil inside that he would try to, he said, I can't say that. And then the saint said, all right, say this, Mara, Mara, Mara. He said, oh, yeah, I can say that one. So he said, Mara, Mara, Mara.
Rama, Rama,
Yes, and it turned to Rama, Rama. And that story is the story within each one of us. Wherever we are in levels of consciousness, we can be changed, but we have to want to change. That external forces, they can change us also, but we really have to be the ones that want to do it.
Would a terrorist want to change? Would a terrorist, I mean, you'll have to actually hold him, get him there to school him again or talk to him or get him.
I'm going to bring up something that maybe is controversial, but you know why spirituality does so much evil on this planet is the fact that we actually are souls, that we're not these physical bodies. And so people, they use that knowledge for a wrong sake. But the point here is that, from my point of view, let people make their mistakes. I mean, we have to have governments. We can't let people blow things up. But we can let people make mistakes where they maybe do a little bit of harm. Obviously, we don't want anybody to do any harm, but we are, you know, you said in the beginning here so well with that experiment that the guy did that almost anybody can become a terrorist. And let's think about it for a second. When we're at home and we're yelling at a husband, wife, servant, younger brother, or just getting very angry, in some way we are being a terrorist. And I see the solution to this as change yourself. That Gandhi said, be the change that you want to see in this world. And if we can make our little household with our families, our husbands, wives, brothers, sisters, if we can have harmony there, that will spread. I see that as the solution rather than trying to go out and try and take governments and make them make all these rules, and I just don't see that's going to work.
So if you have 1 hour with a terrorist, and that's it, you've just got 1 hour each, both of you, who come from 2 different worlds. What is that magical leaf? What is that thing that you're going to apply to him, that practice or that talk you'll apply to him in which you could change his mind from, say, he is going to do some suicide bombing or something. So something which is immediate, what would that be?
Yeah, if I have to be honest, no, absolutely not possible. 1 hour is not possible for a person where everything gone in and the whole brainwash that has happened. That 1 hour is going to make any sense. You know, this is forget about terrorism. If you have a person who is depressed and comes to us, I'm a clinical psychologist, not only a professor, I need to have almost 20, 25 sessions to help the person to overcome from depression.
But all the films, Hollywood films show that, you know, in the end, the villain is with the hero, and that hero, I mean, besides the shooting and killing, you know, if he has to take some other, he just does something which changes their minds immediately.
It's wrong. It's totally wrong. It's totally wrong. They are not giving the correct picture. It's not possible.
So I agree that people have deep psychological traits that can't be changed overnight, but I also agree that perhaps in this instance that there might be that one moment where you could try to uplift that person or change their mind. And so I want to tell a very important story that my guru met Mahatma Gandhi, and Mahatma Gandhi told him that if there was a, let's just use the word terrorist, to come into a village and he was going to kill many people. And my guru asked Mahatma Gandhi, what would you do? And Mahatma Gandhi said, I would offer myself first to be killed, and that he would try to transform him with the power of love. And now my guru said Mahatma Gandhi was wrong. What if that terrorist went and shot Mahatma Gandhi and then went on to shoot everybody else? That we should just shoot that one terrorist first for the welfare and goodness of all of the rest of the people. Yet at the same time, as I give this talk right now, that if it would be willing, my life or the terrorist's life, I would give my own life, if that was going to solve the whole thing. But the question here is, every human being has to feel that. That if it's just, but even Mahatma Gandhi felt that. Look what he did for this country. Look how much good he did. And that we have to also be able to feel that kind of oneness, of love for people that are even hurting us. It's the only solution, but it begins with you, that I can't force that on you.
Yeah, that's true. So would any audience like to ask any questions? Participate?
They
Yeah,
have other
please,
questions?
please.
Sometimes, do you think that the problem arises because we are keen to teach lessons to people but not learn lessons? Even our leaders, in their speeches, repetitively, they say, we will teach them a lesson, we will teach our opponents a lesson. And very few people are actually eager to learn lessons.
I think the answer is self-evident,
Yeah.
that yes, we all need to learn more lessons, and that one thing is that a lot of people just don't believe in or not aware of karma. But if you believe in it, you start to see why that bad things happen to some people, and that it takes a lot of our effort to try to become good people. But all of us, you're absolutely right, all of us need to learn how to listen. And our real job here in planet Earth, which is a school, a spiritual school, is to learn how to educate ourselves, transform ourselves. Can we have the next question?
No, it's not a
Right at
question.
the
It's
back.
just
Oh, sorry.
something that I have been learning over years was that all of us growing up, we've had lots of different conditioning, and to be efficient in our life, in our work or anything, we have to work on ourselves at all levels, and including our mental and emotional level. There was an experiment done in Chicago in many schools where kids were dropping out for many years, and a group came in, and what they started to do was, instead of their play activities, they started to introduce breathing exercises, which was nothing really, it was just fun, breathing exercises. But what they found was that the kids were getting more calmer, and a lot of emotions or whatever they had been going, they were getting over it, and they were performing better, they were concentrating better. So I do think there are very simple skills and very simple practices that are out there that are helping and conditioning.
So even in prisons, for example,
Yeah.
here, especially in context to Kiran Bedi and Tihar jail, she introduced a number of yoga and other classes.
That's what I was going to
meditation
get to.
that
That's,
eventually helped.
have
Yeah.
found that they have improved a lot, and even prisons, and even so many areas of conflict where these groups have gone. They have seen resolutions because of just the simple things which have no religion. They have no boundaries.
But
So yes.
don't you think that it should start from home itself?
Absolutely.
Because I see that while parents are always pushing you to be ambitious, to achieve, to go out there, there is, and they do tell us, go pray. But what does prayer actually mean? I mean, you read Hanuman Chalisa and you think of Hanuman, but you're not actually going inside. So that traveling inside yourself, that has to start from homes. But when parents themselves are not aware, how would they take it to children?
Yeah, so a very, very important point that you have made, and also I would suggest this is what I'm actually doing this, psychology, which is so very, very important. Now look at this from parents' perspective, from the school, teachers' perspective. We all of us are interested into having our own kids with, high IQ, everything to be wonderful, but we have forgotten about the ethics, which has to be taken care of, and we have forgotten about the psychological health, which is needed.
Yeah.
Now tell me, in your first standard, second standard, third standard, do children know about the self-esteem issue, self-confidence issue, inferiority complex? Where do they know? Now what happens in 9th and 10th standard, and the child has failed, commits suicide.
Yeah.
And then you think, okay, how this has happened? The parents were not there, the exams, the pressure. No, your child has not learned to face failure because the child was not told. Doesn't know how to manage.
No,
And
probably
that
it's not
program
even
is not there.
acceptable at home to
Absolutely.
fail, because you have stressed so much on success that the child has not known how to fail, and it's not, he knows that it's not acceptable in the family, that he'll be treated badly, that he's taken a certain step like that.
Yeah, so these things have not been taken care by the parents, these are not
Yeah.
taken care by the teachers there, by the society. We are not paying attention to this ethical as well as psychological strain that is needed. You cannot become a terrorist just like that.
Yeah.
No matter how hard the person tries to brainwash, if you have a critical thinking, you
Yeah,
cannot. It's
not.
like, if people think anyone I can hypnotize. It's not possible. If I don't want to get hypnotized, no one can hypnotize me. So same way, if I have a critical thinking, I will, no matter whoever the leader is, tells me something, I will not do it. But this is not there in the child. That's why they make use of this.
Can I
But
add
last
just one?
not the least, I just
Yeah,
want to
go ahead.
ask one question through the spiritual prism. Can we all, this room full of people, be hypnotized into some becoming peaceful? Like, can that be done through
No,
spiritual?
because the spiritual giants who even would have the ability to do that would never do it. That they will not encroach upon your free will. That God has given you free will, and they also give you free will to make your own mistakes, to be angry or peaceful as you wish. The one thing I wanted to add was, and this goes to education, a solution to transforming society is that I hope everybody here brushes their teeth for 2 or 3 minutes every day. It's just a part of hygiene that we all are taught as we're grown up. But how many parents, how much in school teach, that you can take control of your thoughts, that you can take control of your emotions, that if you get angry, that there's a solution for it. Here, learn a pranayam or learn a particular meditation technique. Practice it 5 minutes a day, the same way that you would practice brushing your teeth 5 minutes a day.
I would say train your thinking at the same time.
Absolutely.
It's something very, very important. No matter what happens externally, the key is here. If you
Yeah.
manage that, you hold it, no external force can really do anything.
So ultimately, I feel that this is not really esoteric. You people have a meeting ground. Basically, it's the mind
True,
or
true.
training since
Absolutely.
childhood in
Absolutely.
the household, right? To become people who are aware and who do not have low self-esteem, who cannot be hypnotized by anyone. So for that, basically, if you have strong individuals coming out of homes, you may not see so many terrorists.
True. Correct.
Yes.
So before we wind up, we would like to ask, there was somebody who wanted to ask another question from there.
Yeah, good afternoon. I remember a dialogue from a very famous movie, Die Another Day, in which Bond is looking for some terrorists, and the next man says, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter.
Yeah. True.
Is
So-
it?
Yeah.
Okay. Another man's freedom
Freedom
fighter.
fighter.
Okay.
So, pertaining to that, I remember when terrorism started in Punjab, I was a witness to that. And what the people had in mind, I mean, those people, they had idols, right idols at the wrong place. I mean, they used to quote Bhagat Singh. When a terrorist was caught, he said कि जब भगत सिंह बम फेंकता है तो आप उसको फ्रीडम फाइटर बोलते हैं और जब हम बम फेंकते हैं तो आप हमें टेररिस्ट बोलते हैं. So the kind of idols they had and they were put in the wrong place. I mean, and the community supporting it. How do you say? I mean, what do you say about that?
Let me take that up. That is the greatest question, because sometimes take the freedom fighters that we're all grateful for what they did, and yet they were fighting, they were killing people. And so this gets back to that question I said that we might ask. Does the means justify the end?
Yeah.
And that we have to ask ourselves, when is it right to kill someone? Like the Mahatma Gandhi instance that I gave earlier. And sometimes it is right to kill people. And then it becomes a matter of how do you look at it? That is it for the freedom of a whole nation? And is it two countries fighting against one another? That there's really something to being a warrior. That it's actually one of the stages in human development as we go through many incarnations. And once you really become a true kshatriya, once you really become a true warrior, that you say, I am willing to die for this cause, that my own life doesn't mean anything to me. And it's why this topic of terrorism gets to be such a problem, because the thing here really isn't, are you willing to die or are you not willing to die? It is, what are you willing to die for? That are you willing to die for something that's dharmic, for something that's good? And we have to look to people who actually are good. We have to really go deep inside and figure out, what are my own morals? What are my own ethics? What is correct? It's the soldier's dilemma. That do I follow my boss, like Hitler's telling me to kill somebody? I just signed up to be a soldier. Or do I just run away from this and people call me a coward? And is that the right thing to do? And I believe that that answer lies within each person. But of course, we always have those who are wiser than us that we can go to consult.
I think that in context of your question, I think we shouldn't call it terrorist versus freedom fighter. We should call it violence versus, getting your goals. So terrorist is probably not looked up to as a freedom fighter because he's using violence as a means to get there. why Gandhiji became Gandhiji and he's quoted all over the world is because he talked about getting to your means wherever you want to go through non-violence. And I think that a lot of freedom fighters who are getting a lot of recognition right now is because there's been a tilt in the thought process of India where from somebody who wanted to just travel inside, we say, oh dude, you've been killing us, now we'll come and kill you. So that shift has happened in last maybe a decade or so. But earlier we were always quoting Gandhiji and, you know, adopting, even if we want to reach somewhere, the means of adoption was very, very important. And the peaceful means were adopted in the Indian context. We didn't want to say straight away to our public that, look, we are going and killing them out there, that our armies are going and killing, though they were doing that, but we didn't say it because our principles were different.
The highest principles.
Highest
they
principles.
were. That's the point.
So great. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm going to close this on a little high note. And the high note we're going to adopt is asking Antara to please come up. Antara is Professor Savarkar's daughter. And she's got a special role here today because it's your birthday, I believe.
Okay.
So Antara has some cakes for you to cut.
Okay.
And maybe all of you can join in wishing him a very happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Very happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Anil. Happy birthday to you.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you, Shreya. Thank you, Brahmachari Jamal. And thank you,
birthday.
Professor Savarkar. We're going to move into our next session. You can take the cake with you and eat it as well.